Hello, and welcome to another discussion with Marketing and Sales Mastery with JCW. And I am so excited. Today I have Gary Guianardo, you have to say if I said that right. Yeah,
Yep.
Guianardo from the shortlist. And Gary, welcome. And tell us a little bit about your background and how you've ended up starting the shortlist.
Good morning, Cheryl, and thanks for having me on the program. I appreciate it very much. I've actually, I guess you can say I'm senior when it comes to age, experience, and all of that. I've actually been with large Fortune 500 companies for about 14, 15 years, and starting off basically in California right after college. I'm an engineer undergraduate wise, so think a little bit, more analytically.
Mhm.
And but I was always in marketing and sales, basically for the big corporations, getting into strategy and planning. And it took us from California to Ohio to Michigan, and actually we had an expat assignment our family did in Paris, France, for about 3 years, and then repatriated back to the Metro Detroit area. And I was doing so much international travel is when I decided that something. We had a young family. My wife was pregnant with number three, and wasn't a good time for us to be international, people for a big multinational corporation. So that's when I went to a smaller company. So actually, marketing and sales experience with large corporations, like I said, 14, 15 years. And then about 3 years with a smaller company before I decided to go on my own. And it was really a precursor to what I do right now with the shortlist. So back in about 2000 is when I decided to do, and you absolutely know about this. It was really before the term fractional
Mhm.
was even a term. I was a fractional CMO, and there weren't many of us that did this type of work. So I work with B2B, small to medium size industrials. So a lot of little manufacturing companies, distributors, other service providers, related service providers, and on a day a week basis for a year, or 2 days for 6 months, or board level work a day a quarter, whatever was needed to help them really grow profitable sales. And that gave me an opportunity to work with many small to medium size, multi-generational family businesses, sometimes investor-owned businesses like private equity or family offices. And I just love the type of work. Did it, in fact, for a little over 20 years.
Wow.
And it was through that experience of working with directly for presidents, CEOs, owners of these companies. I just saw the same type of issue that was happening with many of them, trying to find um, mid to upper level talent at these companies, and but in a way that wasn't the typical search firm, like a retained or contingent search, which was the fee structure was based on a percent of first year compensation. So I
Mhm.
put a different model together based on the pain points I was hearing from them, and hence the short list, which I created about 3 years ago. So so that's what I do, the short list, and it was through a lot of other experiences that led me up to doing what I do right now, finding mid to upper level talent for companies.
Yeah,
So
that's exciting, and congratulations to you. And one of the things you said, which is what we talk a lot about in our nine step, is really understanding that pain point. Because while you may have a great model, if you're not serving a pain point or an aspiration to your target market, you kind of don't really have anything, as good as it might sound, right? So obviously your background in marketing and sales is has proved beneficial to you as you're on your own and starting your own thing up.
well,
Um,
sure, I think you will agree to this. Probably the best marketing and salespeople are the best listeners. They really don't they don't talk as much as they listen. And it's really trying to understand when you talk about, or we both talk about the pain points, it's extremely important. Can you basically alleviate those points with the services that you and or your company are providing? Or even can you just be, if you or your company can't provide those, can you be a resource manager and refer somebody else in? And but it all starts with listening. And I think there are way too many, from my experience in marketing and sales, and then
Yeah.
really helping companies with their to improve their marketing and sales departments. There are just too many people that tell, and you can't tell. It's all about listening and really putting yourselves into the buyer's shoes, their perspectives. So,
Yeah, and yeah,
yeah,
right. I hear many terms on this, but I like to say be the bridge of where they are, what their pain points are, and where they want to be, understanding that, right? And then your services are that bridge to get them from point A to point B. But it is listening. It's very very integral in both, sales and marketing.
it
So
is.
what I'm hoping to share in our conversation today is a little bit about, because you're looking and you're helping find talent, and and obviously it's not just sales and marketing, right?
That's
You will
correct.
do many things. Obviously, with this being the series that I'm in, I want us to zero in on those two areas, right? And so there's a couple things that, talking about salespeople versus marketing people, talking about big, larger companies versus even smaller companies, right?
Mhm.
I mean, obviously we both have launched off, both worked in Fortune 500 companies, launched off on our own, very different from the support that we had now versus what we had before, right? And then
Yep.
and doing both of those things to maybe even a mid-sized company that really needs to look at those things a little separately. And who, like, if you sort of follow the EOS process or any other organization, right? You want to get the right people in the right seats, right?
Right.
So the right butts
Absolutely.
in the right seats, from this perspective, and where they might be a little bit differently. So can you share a little bit about, like, when you're searching someone on your short list, right?
Sure.
And
Mhm.
you're looking for somebody in maybe a sales role or a marketing role. Can you maybe explain a little bit what you're looking for that are maybe different for those folks?
It's interesting. One of the things I thought of, this was many, many years ago, was, the difference between salespeople, different types of salespeople. And one of the things that I just thought of was, and it's through my own participation in sports back in grade school, high school, college, the whole bit. And it's team sports that you have, or people who participate in team sports like basketball, football, volleyball, whatever it might be, soccer, for instance.
Mhm.
So you have those type of participants, but then you have participants in sports that are really individuals under the umbrella of a team.
Mhm.
That would be swimming, track and field, wrestling,
Yeah.
things like that.
Uh-huh.
And so the reason why I bring that up is because I see two main types of, well, there are other types, but two main types of salespeople are true salespeople, and then but more account management people, and then business development people, which were more of the true hunters going out there and trying to find business. And what I found is, just through my own talking with people and all of that,
Uh-huh.
people who are used to being playing within that team type of environment, because sports, you'll find that people who participate in sports can make good salespeople. They have that drive, determination, the winning spirit, all of that. But the people who basically are so used to being within a team, you know, baseball, football, but a component of the team, basically, I think do make good salespeople, but also make terrific account managers and all of that. But then there's the almost individual contributors that you'll see in wrestling, track, swimming, some of these other that they have to do it on their own. If they fail, basically, it's known to everybody that they fail, and basically that's their motivator that keeps them going forward to try to get the win on their own. So I see those types of folks can be terrific at business development because, as you know, business development people, um, can get beat up a lot out there. And there's where you'll have a lot more, maybe not failures, but it takes a while to get a significant win for business development. But that's the nature of the game. So, but I do see differences in the type of salespeople, for instance, and for me, looking for salespeople, another important aspect also is that sometimes companies are, I think, a little bit too rigid in what we're looking for specifically, where you have to be able to, think about what are the traits, for instance, that are, must-haves versus nice-to-haves. Like for instance, for salespeople, I believe an important thing, a trait basically is traits of successes. You have to have a track record of successes, and if good salespeople want to be found, for a next opportunity, maybe outside of the company that they're at right now, then make sure that they list those successes. And that's really, I think, what is extremely important. In fact, when it comes to what companies want is, looking for people who have proven successes, and but what are things that they might not know about the specific type of product that for candidates, for instance, that the company sells, or the type of service the company sells. But is it something that's trainable? Is this person intelligent enough? Do they have enough of a background that shows success in learning new things, but that they have a good ingrained sales within themselves, some success. So I've
Right.
talked a couple of things out at you here.
Yeah, no, that's it's good because it's like it's in, as you know, I spent most of my career, my early career in the sales organization. I mean, it was reservation sales and then it went into, outside sales, eventually leading a global sales team. So where I was hiring salespeople and that type of sales even was different than what we do today, right? So that was in a sense account management. I mean, at the airline, I remember when I was, I'd gotten promoted from what we called industry sales into corporate sales. And, I had large companies that I was working with, which was really a relationship manager type position. And I was farming, you know what I mean? I was really trying to farm the, trying to, I was like, okay, I knew how much air travel they had, and I really wanted a bigger percentage of that. And then I had these new business goals, right? And new business were the hunters. And I'm like, okay, well, do you want me to go get a $200,000 company, or do you want me to go try to get another million from this one? You know what I mean? And
Yeah.
so it was, you're looking at those opportunities, but even those type of salespeople are different, right?
Right.
From
Right.
that perspective, right? But then, obviously then when I branched off, I started, I really wanted to focus on marketing because that's what I got my degrees in.
Yeah.
But I had to sort of build that experience up. So, I was out kind of retraining myself and, some of the things that I hear when I'm talking to people, and you could probably relate to this a little bit, just from even your time as the fractional CMO. I'll talk to companies and they'll say, "Oh yeah, my marketing department is, and they'll refer to a person or my person in marketing, which is really just one piece of the puzzle, which might be your graphic designer. It might be somebody that's posting to their social media posts, but that's not putting together an overall marketing plan or strategy, right? I
Right.
mean,
Right.
and so that part is different. And just the way those two teams even work together, I'm like, okay, the salespeople are the people on the street who are they if they're good, like you just said, where they're listening and they understand the pain points and they understand where they want to get to and how do we get there. The marketing people really should have lots of conversations with those salespeople
Yeah.
to get that fed up so that can work into your marketing, so that you're working on your marketing process and your marketing strategy to help build those bridges. You know what I mean? To get that together. I mean,
Yeah.
and marketing people can do it in different ways too. I always say, maybe you're going to attend some trade shows, maybe you're going to do some surveying. There's some things to do, but literally those salespeople really are. They know they have, when they're good, they actually get that aspect in it, but it's still very different from developing your whole marketing strategy, understanding your channels, where they're coming from. You might have multiple, your product might serve multiple different personas. It might, be different in different channels. I had a conversation with a company not too long ago that had, they are a packaged goods service company, and some of their product goes out and it's unbranded when it hits the store, right? So which is a little bit, so that's a little bit marketing strategy or different channel than when they're out there with their packaging, so people can be, kind of get close to that brand, and
Right.
understanding that brand aspect of it. But
Well, and as you know, very often it's just because of finances and just need is when companies are small,
mhm,
is that very often there's the sales and marketing person. So
yeah,
it's the person who has to do it all. And as the company continues to grow, how do you grow in the sales and marketing department? You add a second salesperson, but then, that one person or maybe both people are still kind of splitting up the marketing type of a function. And I think that companies that kind of get the difference between sales and marketing,
mhm,
and to me, I take a look at sales as being, now believe me, there's really a lot of strategy. Sales is very strategic, but I see sales in the bigger picture as more of the tactical, with the marketing
mhm,
as more of the strategic, is because the marketing, again, like you were saying, you're developing the branding, you're developing, something maybe seemingly as simple as, well, what's the URL? In fact, what's the website name? What's
right,
the logo look like? What's the message, the 5 bullet points that we really want to kind of get across and all of that.
right.
And then once marketing sets kind of that, this is the message for the company, then the
Yeah,
salespeople basically can take that and run with it.
right.
So, yeah.
Yeah, it's
So, and
tough.
then,
So
well, that's where the benefit I think of a, like yourself, for instance, that
yeah,
fractional CMO type
yeah,
of to help, especially the smaller companies that don't have that professional resource that can really do the marketing strategy and implementation because they're so focused on sales and all of
right.
that. But the marketing will help with their sales.
Yeah,
So,
well, that's right. It's a give and
yeah,
take with all of them. I mean, there's so many different philosophies of, is um, marketing is marketing a part of sales, or is sales a part of marketing, right?
right,
My philosophy is sales is a part of marketing because it's a branch of it, like you said, running off some of those tactics. And but then there's levels of marketing functions, I'll say, that support that sales team, right?
right,
So
right,
and I call those sales operations. Like when you get into like a larger corporation that has many people, right? And that was my world in, in the airlines. I mean, we had a marketing team that was focused on the website and the B2C and that whole strategy. And then we had a whole sales department, but salespeople, and it was huge, needed a lot of support, from developing those conferences, from developing, the brochures that need to go out or anything else that needs. So then they had a sales support function underneath it, which was doing some tactical marketing things,
right,
right?
right.
So
Yep.
it's but yeah, I think as and we met obviously through an organization of fractionals. And
Hmm.
so networking, I'm going to have a conversation, I think, next week with somebody specifically on networking and
Hmm.
driving those goals, and it's measurable, and it's the actions that you do that are accountable. And it's but we met through that organization because these companies actually have a value that they can get from a fractional leader. So sometimes it might be needing a full-time person. I don't know about, I mean, I could see a fractional sales leader, which I do as well. Fractional sales, I mean, I think there's companies that actually do that, but I think from do you see that very often? Actually,
I do see that, and it's more under like sales accelerator. I mean, you'll see more of almost like a franchise type of a model
yeah,
because you'll see people in different cities with that same brand,
right,
and but that's not the only one. I mean, there are other ones, and
yeah,
but it's the same thing too, where you'll see more of the fractional CFO work,
yeah.
where you'll see more and more companies that specifically are fractional CFO services and
And,
offer
and I'm
those types of
Yeah,
services.
and I'm referring more to a fractional salesperson than
Right.
you know.
Right.
So, and
Well,
I,
that's
I
what
know
that
there's
said. Yep. Oh, go ahead. I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
yeah, yeah, no, no, no. And I know there's companies that actually will, you can outsource your sales team to,
Right.
so, and I
I,
guess,
yep. I think, they've never really called them fractionals, but
yeah.
probably one that's been around for a long period of time, and everybody would know about that would be manufacturers reps or
Oh,
reps.
right. Yeah.
And even distributors. Distributors, when you think about it, are really, you're an extension of your go-to-market strategy. But that's where your manufacturer's reps, they're not employees, they're their own business people. And because of that, you have to treat them as part of your team, but you can't direct everything that they do because they're their own business people. And in most cases, they not only are covering or managing, selling, basically marketing your line, but they're also marketing other companies' lines as well as part of their portfolio, or line card is what they really call it. So,
Right.
but that's
Now,
what I would think that would be kind of the ultimate, at least I've always seen that in the manufacturing world, kind of the ultimate long-term type of fractional would be manufacturers reps.
so let's dive into manufacturers reps just a little bit deeper,
Sure,
right? Because
sure.
you said a couple things that is interesting. So the marketing and the sales that they're doing, that's the marketing is again being driven by, if you're gonna like organize it on a chart, right? So the marketing message is really coming from the company, and
Mhm.
they have probably a pack or kit to educate the manufacturer's rep on those services and the products and the benefits, and then they're out there then having those conversations with their clients,
Correct.
right? Because they're developing those clients, and they're kind of looking at your your package versus maybe another customer client package, right? That they're trying to find the right fit.
Right.
Do they ever have I don't know this. Do they ever have competing products too?
They can. And so what happens in cases like that is you could have a real good, I mean, a real well-known rep, for instance, for a specific industry, and they cover, geographic territory as well. And what you can do in cases like that, where they do represent a competing product to one that you would have,
Uh-huh.
is that you can divvy up the territories, for instance, say that,
Hmm.
this is, well, you got to watch out with that too, about, but it's not uncommon basically to be able to say that we will give you rights, basically, us as a manufacturer and you as the rep, we will give you rights to this geographic territory. And put into my contract with you, there will be, you will sell no competitive product basically within that territory.
Mm,
So it's not saying they can't sell a competitive product, but they can't sell it within that territory.
interesting.
So that's something that, because they're your sales agent, they're, you
Mhm.
know, so it's the manufacturer's reps serve really a great purpose. In fact, when it comes to a manufacturer, for instance, wanting to get into a new market. For instance, I sell a widget right now that's been in the automotive industry for 20 years, but I think that this product can basically go into off-road equipment, or go into agricultural equipment, or
Mm,
go
okay.
into, something like that. And I don't know the first thing about trying to enter those markets, but I found a manufacturer's rep organization that sells complementary products into those markets. Maybe they'd be interested in also representing our company to sell our products.
Right,
And that's how things start with manufacturers reps.
right.
So, so what manufacturers reps typically bring to the table is entry into new markets, and or entry into target customers, for instance, in markets that they might have good relationships with,
Mm,
but you don't have any relationship with, and it takes quite some time to get in. So you'll find reps not just in manufacturing of traditional, like widget type of manufacturing, but also food. Food, beverage, all sorts of different markets like that as well.
interesting.
So,
Yeah.
yep, yep.
Excellent. So, I will make sure that, why don't you tell us how people would get a hold of you if they want to have a
Oh, sure.
conversation
So
and,
they can get a hold of me through, well, first of all, the website or the URL is shortlist shortlistcandidates.com. And then my email directly is garyg@shortlistcandidates.com. Or feel free anytime to call or text me at my cell is 989-714-3338.
Excellent.
Okay,
All right. Well, thank you
good,
so
Cheryl.
much. Thank you so much for the conversation. I look forward
Thank
to
you
the next
too.
one. It's always so enlightening, and thank you again. We'll talk to
Well,
you
you
soon.
as well, Cheryl. Thanks for the opportunity to talk with you and the folks who are going to be watching this. So thank you very much. Have a great day too.
Thanks. You